I'm Justin.
I'm Travis. Welcome to Wrestling
Junkie.
Junkie.
Alright, so we just got done watching Royal Rumble, and in my opinion, this is one of the best shows, I think. I think this is probably the best shows in the Triple H era so far. Um, I like pretty much every match. Besides like the Bray and LA Knight matches, the only one I didn't really care for. All the matches, in my opinion, were pretty good.
Yeah, all the matches were good, and even with the Bray match, the ending was still pretty cool. How they ended it after the match was over. But yeah, every match was pretty good. I enjoyed it, and yeah, let's just get into it.
Yeah, we started with our first match. We started with the Men's Royal Rumble, which I was kind of surprised with. I thought either it was going to be the second to last or the last match itself. But we started this match with Gunther at number 1, who is somehow I was like really excited to see in this match. I kind of hoped he was going to go pretty far, which he ended up doing. He started at number 1, like I said, and made top 2, and also broke the record for longest time in the Rumble match, in the men's Rumble match. So I was super surprised when they let him do that. Other things to note, we had Booker T make a little appearance. Edge returned. We had Logan return. Not only that, that Logan spot with Ricochet, that was crazy.
That's probably like the best spot of like the whole night, probably, honestly.
Yeah, that and like the one like you said about with LA Knight and Bray Wyatt, that was pretty cool. But yeah, and it's crazy. Like just a few months ago, Logan tore his MCL, and we kind of thought, oh, how long is he out? When we're gonna see him again? But yeah, that was a crazy spot. One thing to note as well, I think it was number 19 or 18 or something like that, where Rey Mysterio was an introductory into the Royal Rumble, but he never came out. But then the next person was Dominic, and he came out with a Rey mask. So they never really go on too much about it, but we kind of just assume that it's Dominic's doing and stuff like that. And then obviously the most noteworthy thing is number 30, Cody Rhodes comes back and wins the Rumble. Yeah, what's your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I'm assuming because also obviously Brock Lesnar came in. He has a couple like moves on everybody in the ring, eliminates a few people, but Bobby Lashley ultimately comes out and eliminates him. And they kind of have a stare down, and then Brock kind of goes on a rampage outside the ring. He spears Baron Corbin, I believe it was, who came out. So I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of feud with them two going forward. But yeah, it was really enjoyable. I thought there was going to be like a big like surprise entrant to come out, and there really wasn't like a big one. It was like a surprise, I guess, that like you said, like when Logan and Edge came out and stuff. But yeah, you could kind of assume that they were going to come in at some point anyway. Maybe not Logan, but I feel like Edge was we actually did predict that in our predictions. We didn't predict Logan Paul. Well, actually, I think we did too. Actually,
at the very end, I mentioned something about it.
Yeah, so we literally predicted
2 of the 3.
Yeah, 2 of the 3 entrants. CM Punk didn't come out, so that was my guess. But yeah, it was really cool. It was fun to watch. But yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, and you mentioned CM Punk right there, and before the show started, they're doing like kind of like interviews with some like the superstars and stuff like that. And somebody had Seth Rollins was doing one. He mentioned he was like talking with him. And somebody mentioned CM Punk, but he was all they called him Phil Brooks, his real name. And he was like, "What are your thoughts about him possibly coming back to WWE?" And he was like, "Stay away from here. You're a cancer to the locker room. We don't want you here at all." So when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, is he gonna actually come out now?" I was kind of like, I was surprising, but yeah. Overall, I like the Rumble. I think it was kind of obvious that Cody was gonna be the person to win it, or he's gonna be in the end no matter what. Which overall, I loved it. Great match in my opinion. So for our next match, we had Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight in a pitch black Mountain Dew match. I don't know really what to call it. It was surprisingly really short. It came out, I think, at exactly 5 minutes, which I didn't expect it to be like really long, obviously, because you have the 2 Rumbles. But for Bray Wyatt's first match on screen, I kind of figured maybe a 10, maybe a 15. Obviously, he's not really known for going too long in these matches, but I expect a little bit more. But over the match itself, I didn't care for. I don't know about you.
Yeah, this was definitely like the weakest match of the night. But with that being said, it was still pretty good. Like you said, I wish they would have like drug the match out a little bit more and more happened. I think the like time between matches was like too long, so I think they could have like cut some of that time out and like expanded this one a little bit. But yeah, I mean it was decent. The main like talking point that's gonna be like centered around this match is really after the match was over.
Yeah.
Uncle Howdy does a
Dive. Yeah.
onto
Yeah.
LA Knight. It's not really like I don't know. He just kind of dives like
And-
back first
and
into him.
Not only that, I don't know if you noticed, but he completely
Missed
misses.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
like he was so far out, and I kind of felt bad. But I was like, it gets the point across. But yeah, it was. One thing I will say is the look of the match did look pretty cool. I liked the
The neon face paint
yeah,
on
the
Bray.
neon, that looked really cool on him. And then they broke the announcers table at one point, and then they have like these like bright green, bright yellow beads. I don't know what they really call them. So when they broke the table, it just like kind of like went everywhere. But yeah, like you said, after the match, Bray he put on another mask as well when he goes between the end of the match into the spot where you said where we see Uncle Howdy jump off. So yeah, they kind of just like go through the crowd for a little bit. They go to like this little like platform area, and then you knock him down. And then Bray Wyatt looks up and he sees Uncle Howdy. Uncle Howdy jumps, completely misses like we mentioned. And then after kind of like the closing segment, you see all the Firefly Funhouse puppets like looking down and seeing what's going on. But yeah, yeah, it was okay. I liked the ending. I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah, without the ending, I think the match should have been like a lot worse. But since they at least gave it like that ending, it's not even really the ending. It was literally after the match.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of made the match a lot more enjoyable, and it made you like think a little bit more of what could happen in the future. Like, is Uncle Howdy actually gonna like wrestle one day?
Yeah.
Like, because that was like a pretty big spot for just like a random guy who doesn't wrestle to do, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe he'll come in and do something.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah,
but
well,
it was interesting.
Yeah, well, the main rumor that's going on now is that Uncle Howdy's actually Bo Dallas, Bray Wyatt's brother. So yeah, it's kind of weird way to end it, or because we don't know if this is the end of the LA Knight Bray Wyatt feud. This can extend until Elimination Chamber or a few more weeks. So obviously you have to keep watching to see what happens. But yeah. Alright, so for our third match, we had the Raw Women's Championship match between Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss. Another really short match. I think this one was about like 7 minutes. Pretty good match. Bianca ends up retaining, which I was a little bit surprised about. I know we kind of mentioned that this was like a real 50-50, where we could see Bianca retain it, and it would kind of make sense, but it also makes sense if Alexa, wins. Joe, what's your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, up until this point, out of the 3 matches that we mentioned, the Men's Royal Rumble, the Bray match, and this one, I like this one the most, even more so than the Men's Royal Rumble. Mainly because Alexa Bliss, it seemed like she was going to win at certain points. Like, she came really close at like 2 or 3 times. Yeah, I thought she was going to win. My prediction was that she was going to win. And it looked like it was heading that way. But ultimately, Bianca gets the win. They both look really good. And yeah, it was just a pretty good match.
Yeah, it was a good match. They made Alexa look pretty strong in this. I think we're definitely going to rematch some point between now and WrestleMania. I think before, obviously we don't know who Rhea Ripley's going to, I shouldn't have said that, but whoever our women's Rumble winner will face. So we could see a little Alexa Bianca rematch or something like that. But after the match, we seen I don't really what to call it, but it was an Uncle Howdy / Bray Wyatt type video playing on like the big screen in the arena. And Alexa was like watching along, kind of like seemingly really scared almost with what I kind of read it as. But yeah, it was a good match. Like I said, pretty quick. But yeah, I enjoyed it. You say this is your favorite match so far, so yeah. Alright, so for our next match, we had the Women's Royal Rumble match. And I think out of the before we go like kind of get too much into it, I think out of the two Rumble matches, I do think I actually enjoyed this one a bit more in my opinion. What about you?
Yeah, I think this was the best match of the entire night, even more so than the main event, which we'll get into in a minute, obviously. But yeah, I think this one was the best. Roxanne Perez, she looked really good in the little time she was in the ring. She wasn't in there very long, but she had like a really cool her standing Hurricane Marana on Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
It looked really good. It wasn't even really a Hurricane Marana. Like she went around her 360. I don't know what to call that. But it looked really good, and she had a lot of really good spots. But yeah, she looked good. Obviously, Damage Control looked good throughout the whole thing because they were all kind of sticking together throughout the match. Rhea Ripley came in at number 1 and
goes all the way and wins it.
She goes all the way and wins it. And she looked obviously really good. The ending, which we'll get into a little bit later, also I liked. I thought it was good.
Very unique. I like the way they did that.
Yeah, and Liv Morgan also. I mean, she lasted a very long time as well.
2,
yeah,
goes all the way.
The 2 people who started were the 2 people who ended it. So I thought that was I don't think we've ever seen that before in Royal Rumble. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember in my memory of that happening. But it was a really good match. We had a couple surprise entrances like Michelle McCool, and there was a few others as well, like some NXT girls who got a shot like Roxana Perez. But yeah, it was a pretty good match.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the NXT stars. You mentioned Roxanne Perez, but we also seen Zoe Stark and Indy Hartwell, which Indy Hartwell is probably my favorite woman on the NXT roster. I think she's somebody who we can definitely see on the main roster somewhat soon.
I think all the NXT people made a really good case for themselves to get to the main roster.
Yeah, and that makes me really happy and really excited for the future, obviously, because NXT is kind of that group of people who we're going to be seeing for these next 10, 15, potentially even 20 years for some of them. So it's good to see that, they're able to do it at such a young age and that they're only hopefully going to be able to get better. Yeah. Some other things that happened, we've seen Chelsea Green make her return to WWE. It was reported that she already had signed up a few months ago, but they didn't have a really creative direction for her. And if the way they're doing the reports is they're saying that she's doing a Karen character. So where her entire character is supposed to be a big Karen. And in their match, she comes out, she runs in, and basically immediately gets eliminated. And she starts screaming, yelling, and stuff like that, which I think is pretty funny. Matt Cardona on Twitter wasn't happy about it, but that was pretty cool. Another thing, we've seen Doudrop make her return. I think she was sick. I forget what actually she had, but she's better. But she came back out as Piper Niven, which was her original name in NXT. And I think that's also what she was called on the Indies. But she looked really good. I think she's somebody who I never really watched too much of her, but this is I hope this doesn't come off too rude, but for somebody her size, she moves pretty fast in my opinion. And she moves she's pretty flexible and pretty she's able to move pretty well.
Then another one that was a big surprise to me was obviously Nia Jax.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are probably really surprised by that being how everything ended with her in WWE. But yeah, I was surprised by that. Always been a fan of her, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I feel bad for her, but the way she came out, obviously, so all of you're matching, you can kind of tell they're about to start the countdown, but all of a sudden her music starts playing out of nowhere. They don't do a countdown, but as her music starts playing, then they start playing the countdown, which I kind of felt bad for her. It kind of ruins the moment, but it's so cool.
She got a big pop though. The crowd enjoyed it.
She got a pretty big pop. You mentioned Michelle McCool makes her entrance. And she said on Instagram before that she didn't get the call to do it, but she was there ringside, and then her music starts playing, then she jumps over the barricade, which is pretty cool. Another big one was Asuka. She makes her return with a brand new the mask she came out with. I don't know if you paid attention. Yeah. That looked really cool. But also her face paint under. It's from what I heard, it's kind of like a memorial type of thing, or like a reflection of her old character Kana. So I think that's going to be interesting to see what she does in the future.
And also something cool was, what's her name, Zelina, who came out in the
Vega.
in the Street Fighter costume.
Yeah, she looks sick in that.
Yeah, it was really cool, and she had like some Nike dunks on, and it had like the character from Street Fighter on there as well. It was really cool. I never seen like literally an outfit straight from a video game and like come straight into like the WWE. It's probably happened before, but this is just the first one that I've noticed at least.
Yeah, and like they pushed it like this was a direct ad for Street Fighter.
Yeah, it was like a sponsored by Street Fighter moment.
Because I seen her come out. I'm like, oh, that's different. She'd never looked like that when I've seen her wrestle. And then all of a sudden I see this big screen saying Street Fighter, whatever, new game coming out soon. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But 2 ads from WWE, which at least they were decent and good. And I definitely like the Street Fighter one way better than the Mountain Dew one. But yeah, I enjoy this match. This was my favorite. We see a lot of storylines kind of progress. We see, like you said, Damage Control, Bailey, Dakota, Io, and Becky Lynch kind of evolved. They had their own thing going on. But I think the main thing we need to kind of go back on is Rhea Ripley. She looked phenomenal in this match. They built her strong, which is really good, obviously, because she's our winner.
Yeah, then the final 3 obviously ended up being Rhea Ripley, Asuka, and Liv Morgan. And they were, at one point, all 3 on the apron.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley goes to throw out... Oh, no, Asuka goes to throw out Rhea Ripley. Then Rhea Ripley ducks and then gets Asuka spits.
Does the blue mist.
Yeah, does the blue mist in her face, and then that pretty much eliminates her. Well, she doesn't eliminate her, but she's like in the corner. Mm-hmm. And then Rhea Ripley eliminates Asuka, and then it looked like for a moment Liv Morgan was gonna win, which I was really hyped for. I kind of hope she would. Like, as y'all know, in the past I've always said how much I've liked her since Money in the Bank. But yeah, I thought she was gonna win. I was like getting really excited, but it ended up not happening, and Rhea Ripley came out on top.
Yeah, for a second, I don't know if it was intentional or not. I won't like try to like bash them, but when Rhea Ripley like fell and she immediately grabbed it, I almost thought that was kind of like, I don't know if that was part of it or like maybe she was like she actually slipped and had a herping grab, but then she grabs her up. It's like a head scissors to Liv Morgan to eliminate her. But yeah, I'm excited for whoever Rhea goes for. A match with Bianca will be good. A match with Charlotte's going to be good. If either of them are champions.
I think Charlotte would be like a better match with her, in my opinion. Yeah, I hope she goes that route rather than Bianca. I'd rather see Bianca continue with Alexa Bliss, honestly.
Yeah, they had like a press conference after the Royal had all ended, and they had interviewed her, obviously, and she was basically saying that she's beaten Bianca before. She's came up in NXT with her, so there's a lot of history there. But she's had a match with Charlotte at WrestleMania before, lost it, so it's now her time to get the revenge on her. You know, there's a lot of ways you can go with it, but yeah, I'm excited for what they do with her. Yeah, I keep saying it, but great match in my opinion. Alright, so now for our main event, we have Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns for the Undisputed Universal Championship. And I'm not trying to like get too much far ahead, but the ending of just the show in general was absolutely phenomenal. In my opinion, probably one of the best, honestly one of the best storylines in general of all time, but probably like the best pure storyline in the past at least 10 years, maybe 15, maybe even 20. But yeah, it was phenomenal the way they ended it. I'm really excited, but yeah.
Yeah, the match was great. There was a lot of moments where Kevin Owens was like this close to pulling it off, and you could see the whole crowd like kind of like getting shocked, like, oh my god, he's actually gonna win. But you know, obviously, I'm sure as you all know, Roman does end up winning. But yeah, I think one of the like notable points during the match was the referee gets knocked down, and Roman is asking Sami Zayn, like, give me the chair. And he's, like, looking all around, and then he eventually finds it, and then he, like, stutters to give it to him. Like, he, like, waits a second. It's almost like he did it on purpose for Kevin Owens to get up. And then once he got up, he gives him the chair, he turns around, and I believe he gives him a stunner. Yeah. And then he goes for the 3, and he only gets 2. But yeah, that I thought that was like a big like point of the match where it kind of shows you what was gonna happen towards the end.
Yeah, one thing, the point that stuck with me the most throughout for like the actual match itself was at the very end of the match where they're both outside, and Roman's kind of beating him down and grabs his head, and he goes to the staircase and just slams his head straight into that staircase, catching the back of the head like the next step, and it like
And he did it twice at that.
yeah, that's one of those things where people say wrestling's fake, but that I don't see how you fake that. I don't see how that's comfortable. Kevin Owens is an absolute trooper. That's why I love Kevin Owens. He's just willing to put his body on the line for anything to make a good show.
And then right before that, he got speared through the barricade as well by Roman. Then obviously, when it comes to the end of the match, after the match, he gets super kicked by the Usos about 30 times.
After having a chair around his neck, and then Solo does like the kind of the Rikishi where he kind of just does like the running thigh to his head. Then gets handcuffed to the ropes, and if you say gets super kicked, and then we get a chair in play, and Roman's like about to hit him. Then Sami jumps in. You're like, like what's gonna happen next? And then Roman's like, you know what? You're right. I need to relax. You do it. You finish this off. Gives Sami the chair, and next thing you know, Sami's behind him and just clocks Roman in the back. And I want to mention this as well. Like the pop that got when Sami hits Roman in the back. Everybody, that was one of the loudest pops I've heard in a while.
The whole crowd was like rooting for Sami to do it before he even did it. When Roman won the match, everybody was booing Roman like crazy.
He had F you Roman chants.
Yeah, like it was pretty crazy. Like the atmosphere in the arena, like the crowd was really behind like a lot of the moments, but especially in this match, like everybody wanted one thing to happen, and it looks like they all got what they wanted, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, he turns on Roman, he hits him with the chair. Jimmy Uso immediately like super kicks him, knocks him down. Solo comes, he helps out, he beats him down a little bit as well. But the whole time while they're doing that, Jay's just sitting in the corner just watching. He hasn't laid a hand on him. He hasn't even really reacted too much. He was like in shock a little bit, but he didn't react to it at all. So everybody was kind of like in the crowd, and ourselves were like, what's about to happen? Like, is he gonna like attack Jimmy or something? Like, there's no way, right? And they just kind of keep beating him down. Roman does the same. He beats him down a little bit. And yeah, I'll let you finish how this one ends.
Yeah, so Roman gets back up, and he's kind of like, after they kind of beat him down, he looks at Jay, and he's like, all right, Jay, like, your turn, like, get your licks in, and you're going to beat him. And Jay's kind of just like, he's just looking on the mat, like, look like he's about to cry, and Roman's like, come on, you better start hitting him, and Jay's like, he just shakes his head, drops down, rolls up the ring, walks out, which... With the Sami thing, you kind of like can expect something to happen where he was going to turn, or so they're going to turn on him, whatever. But to see Jay seemingly turn on the bloodline, and we don't know. We left off Royal Rumble with Jay walking out, and the Usos, Roman, everybody just shocked, saying, "We gave you everything."
And after he does walk out, they still continue to beat down Sami, and he says like, "You ruined my family," and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the ending was crazy. I would have never expected that to happen. Like if you gave me a million tries to like guess the ending of this match, I would have never said Jay essentially like leaving Bloodline or walking out on Bloodline.
Yeah, and obviously with this is. Sadly, this was going to be the end of the bloodline. I think this is like the official starting point of where we see the bloodline start to
crumble.
Crumble. Because now on SmackDown we have a tournament for the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. So what's going to happen there is Solo going to step in with Jimmy. Is Jay going to come back? We obviously have a week now until.
Is Jay and Sami going to be a tag team versus Solo and Jimmy at some point? Like that's like what I'm kind of expecting to happen, just with the way like everything played out. Like if he didn't, have like those like hard feelings for him for essentially hitting Roman, like his literal family,
Yeah.
then it's like, all right, well, if you don't feel bad about that, then obviously that means you're like with Sammy to like a certain degree, and he was the one who stopped Solo from hitting Sammy. I believe it was Monday Night Raw. But yeah, it was a crazy ending. Would have never expected that to happen. But yeah, the match was pretty good, but the ending, just like the Bray match, it was the talk of the town.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure if you go on Twitter, that's trending right now. Like I can almost guarantee it. I didn't look. I don't know if it is, but I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, like just everything about like just like the pure storytelling of, we started with Jay's like, bro, I don't want this new guy to come in our family. This is family. This is blood. Like we're called the Bloodline for a reason. Then Survivor Series War Games, Jay finally accepts Sammy. Everything's good. Royal Rumble happens, or on Raw this past week. Everybody else turns on, but Jay's the one that saved him. Now Jay walks out to not hit Sammy. So, just like I said, probably the best storyline we've seen in years. I would say, like, just phenomenal. Triple H and the creative team have done a phenomenal job with this. One thing I've kind of loved thinking about recently is like they went from the Bray Wyatt to introduce him back into the WWE to straight into the going full throttle on this Bloodline storyline where you don't really know what's gonna happen next, and I'm just excited what happens next. We obviously have the Elimination Chamber in a few weeks. Actually, that's like 3-4 weeks, I think. So that's gonna be exciting. It's in Montreal. We know Sammy's on the main posters for it, so can only imagine what's happening there.
Yeah, for a Royal, like for me at least, I don't know how everyone else is obviously, but for me, Royal Rumble for me is all about the big stars who come out during the actual Royal Rumble. Like everyone is expecting The Rock to come out, or there was a lot of people who they just wanted to come out. Like I guess CM Punk, I was hoping something like that would happen. None of that happened. But where they did surprise you with was the endings to matches and just like special things that happen throughout the matches, sort of. So normally, as I would be one to like kind of be like, it was kind of mid. Like there's no like big surprises. I'm not gonna say that this year because the big surprises weren't the entrance. It was actually the matches that wasn't the Royal Rumble. Even though they did have a few, obviously, the biggest parts of tonight that people talk about is the actual matches rather than the Royal Rumble itself. I feel like,
which I think is, you can even though it's called the Royal Rumble, I think that's still a good thing that the matches that are not Royal Rumble are somewhat better because that means your Royal Rumble matches are probably still pretty good. This is definitely way better than last year's. The women's one is probably my favorite out of the two Rumble matches. The men's one I still enjoyed. I think the main point with this Royal Rumble was to prove that their roster is deep enough to have a full, like, only the people who actually have signed already are in the Rumble, which we've seen with the men's Rumble. We had a few surprises like Michelle McCool come out and some returns and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm excited with what happens next. We have Raw obviously on Monday. This next week is going to have a big obviously this is the official road to WrestleMania now, so I'm excited for what's next.
Yeah, like you said, they essentially just show that their roster is elite compared to other companies and stuff. I mean, they essentially showed like 70 wrestlers tonight, basically.
Pretty much.
And all of them were great. Some of them obviously were just guests that, are kind of like one-offs. But yeah, they essentially showed 70 people from their roster that are really good talent. And it was just an entertaining show from front to back.
Yeah, another thing I forgot to mention is that Pat McAfee is also back on commentary. I'm sure we'll be seeing him on Fridays again with Michael Cole. I don't know what that means for Wade Barrett. I hope he stays around. I like him and Michael Cole, so maybe we have a 3-man on SmackDown, which I kind of besides the point. This is, I think, going to be a real contender for pay-per-view of the year when we do our end of the year awards at the end of the year. But yeah, I think this next few months leading up to Royal Rumble or WrestleMania is going to be very fun, very exciting, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you guys thought of the Royal Rumble. We enjoyed it. What do you guys think? But yeah, unless you got anything else to add, we're gonna close it out. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, drop a like and subscribe, and see you guys in the next video.